Okay, so I just wanted to let you know about Relevel, which is Relevel by Unacademy. So if you are looking for a job within 15 days, you can go and log in here. Just click on login button here. You can log in with your mobile number. Then click on get hired. You will see different types of exams, that is business analytics, data analytics, front-end development, back-end development, all this stuff. Okay, so you guys can go here and enroll your test. So if you get 700 marks, get 700 out of 1000 to qualify the test. If you qualify your test, these guys have tie-up with around 200 plus leading companies. So they will process your resume, they will forward your resume to these organizations so that you can land in a job in 15 days. The eligibility is you need to have 18 years. So even if you are a student, even if you are graduate who is already been pursuing your degree, you can go and write this. You can get a job. And also the packages are starting around 6 lakhs, and last week they have given a package of around 40 lakhs per annum for one of the candidates. Okay, so it is always a good choice for the freshers right now in the market to go and write the exam. So simply register for the test, take the test, interview with the employer and accept the offer. So I've already given the link in the description. Click that link so that you will go into this page and you can register. Hi Allah, welcome back to Trity Technologies. Please subscribe our channel and also share with your friends and families. Don't forget to comment about your queries and feedbacks. Join Telegram channel, and if you have any queries, just post there so that I'll try to reply you back. There are 4,000 plus members already joined in our Telegram. If you also join, if you know the answers, please reply to the people. And also if you have any queries, you can post there so that a lot of people are there who can reply you back. So we are doing AWS DevOps. So yesterday we have done one session that is about AWS pillars. Okay, so we have already discussed what all the things we are going to do in the last session. So we have divided this into 5 parts. So this is the first part, this is the second session. So we have already discussed about AWS pillars. Okay, so we have talked about operational excellence yesterday. So now we'll talk about security. Later we'll talk about reliability, performance efficiency, and also cost optimization. So yesterday we have already discussed about operational excellence. I hope you guys have already got a clear picture of what is operational excellence. So the next big thing is security. So you guys need to know what is security and how it is been like playing a very important role in the organizations, and how important this is for DevOps engineers as well. Okay, so what kind of tools we use for the security in AWS, we'll see that, and also what is the importance of security, and what are all the principles that we need to follow about security, and what are all the aspects that we need to look into the security with respect to the AWS. Okay, so that is the topic today. So we'll try to cover that topic. So a lot of people are asking about the documentation. Okay, so please note it down whenever I'm speaking. Okay, so I don't have any documentation as such, I don't have any PPT as such. So I talk more on real time. So what is happening on the real time, so I cannot present that exactly on the PPT, so that whenever I'm discussing, you guys can note it down. You can prepare your own notes and you can do that. Okay, and also a lot of people are asking to have this kind of format. Okay, so instead of using whatever I'm doing right now, okay, so I'll try to also type something so that principles and all those stuff, you guys will get a clear picture. Okay, so now we'll go into the topic. Okay, so security is a main pillar of any cloud. It's not only AWS or not only cloud. If it is on premise also, it is very, very important that you have all the security practices in place. So security is like front end of everything. Okay, so it is a front end and it is a main thing in the current market, because there are a lot of hackers, or you can say the bad actors, who are consistently trying to find the vulnerabilities. Okay, so vulnerabilities are like there will be few vulnerabilities where whenever we are deploying our code or whenever we are deploying our application, we might miss some of the security patches, or we might deploy an old version of our application. Okay, so these are all tends to a vulnerability, and this will give a chance to the bad actors or the hackers to get into your infrastructure. Okay, so protecting the data or protecting the customers data is always our number one priority. Okay, so this is the number one priority. Security is the priority, and whomever you are working for, or if you are working for your client, or if you are working for your organization, whatever it is, the security comes first. And it is everyone's job to secure or to give the to follow the security practices across your working environments. It might be a cloud, it might be on-premise, it might be your infrastructure, it might be your networking components, whatever you are working on. Okay, so that is very, very important. And also what exactly the main security points we have. Okay, so when we are talking about security, we always talk about data protection, right? Data protection is the one which is very, very important. Then you will have managing. Okay, so management of your privileges, then your incident response. Okay, then your detective controls. Okay, so we'll discuss more on this, but these are the four main areas of security. Okay, so how you protect your data, how you manage your privileges, how you respond to your incidents, and how you control you whatever you are detecting, and also what are the main principles. Okay, so there are 7 main principles of security. Okay, so one is a strong identity foundation. Okay, one is strong identity foundation. Next one is enabling traceability. Okay, let me pause it here, I'll type it and I'll discuss that. Okay, so if you see here, see identity foundation, then enabling traceability, then applying security at all layers, automating the security best practices, protecting data in transit and rest, keeping people away from data, and also preparing for security events. Okay, so these are all the main important things that you need to remember when you are working on security. So we'll try to cover all these 7 principles, and we'll try to discuss on all these 7 principles how this looks and how this works. Okay, so we are talking about identity foundation. Okay, so what do you mean by identity foundation? Okay, so this is the first point. So you need to make sure that whenever you are working in the real time, you should give the least privileges to anyone. What do you mean by least privileges? So it is always important that you will give only the actual permissions required to perform a job. You are not going to give any major permissions, like someone is want to read a file, or someone wants to look into that file, what exactly has been written. You are not going to give them a write permission or a execute permission, right? So that is always important whenever you are talking about identity foundation. What are the privileges required? So it will be most of the time you need to think in a level of least privileges. Okay, so always try to give a least privileges, because most of the times in AWS we are going to use identity access management. So whenever you are managing your users, ensure that you are following password policy. There is a password policy in password policy in place, and also make sure that these passwords, whatever the passwords are there, they are rotated regularly. This is very, very important whenever you're working in the real time. it is always important that passwords are being rotated on a regular basis and they don't become too stale. Okay, so make sure that, because all the organizations now have been automating this stuff, so that every 20 days or 25 days you will get a notification saying that you need to change your password or you need to change your keys, okay, whatever the keys you are using. And also it is always important that your password policy is in sync with your organization's password policy. Okay, so this is very important when you're working in a real time. If you're working as a cloud admin or a DevOps engineer, whenever you are trying to give access for someone on an IAM, make sure that you have a password policy which is sync with your organization, whatever the organization you're working with, because every organization will have a different concepts of password policy. Some of the organizations now using 15 words password policy, some of the organizations still using 8 words password policy, some of the organizations will have special characters, some of the organizations never use special characters. Okay, so it is always depends on your organization password policy, and you make sure that that is in sync with your IAM policies as well. And also whenever you are using this password policies, it is always important, or whenever you are talking about identity foundation, it is always important that your organization users or your team users might be growing, and also it might be becoming a complex task. So it is always a best practice to use a single sign-on method, that is SSO. It will be on AWS. You guys can go and check AWS SSO, or your organization SSO can also be tagged with AWS accounts. That is one thing you can do. And also you can use your corporate Active Directory servers. Okay, so it might be a separate project. Okay, so you don't want to give it on an organization level, you want to give it on a project level. So in your project you will have your Active Directory server, so that you can directly connect your Active Directory server to the AWS accounts. Okay, so that it will be very easy for you to manage. So that is important thing when you're talking about identity foundation. Next thing comes about enabling traceability. So what do you mean by enabling traceability? Okay, so every time whenever you see a security event, like you can be in a reactive state. Okay, so it is always important that you should have a proper monitoring, proper logging, proper alerting mechanism. And also it is always important that you are always auditing your environments and whatever the systems in place before an event happens. Okay, so it is always important that you have all these security practices in place. Okay, so it is very easy to trace whatever the events are occurring. And also it is not that some event have already occurred and you are not aware of that, because you're already having logging, monitoring, alerting and auditing in place, so that it will be very easy to trace whatever the security events are occurring. So most of the times when you're talking about security things, okay, so on AWS, okay, so you will have some of the services like CloudWatch logs, right? You can use CloudWatch logs, you can use VPC flow logs, and you can use CloudTrail, and also there are other logging mechanisms or auditing mechanisms which are there in AWS. It is always important that whenever you are using AWS, you have a lot of services to use, and it is always important that you are out of this security events. So next thing is like for example, whenever you are working in an organization, okay, so whenever you are talking about traceability, so whenever you are working in an organization, someone, okay, so you might be using a weak password. It is always important that you use a strong password. For example, if you are using a weak password, and also if someone has gained access to a server, or they like your data got compromised, okay, so it is always important that you are able to figure out, okay, what is the username used. It is always important that which username is used to compromise your data, and which username is used to access that system. Then what is the IP address that was used where the access was originated. Then what is the time, okay, what is the time access was started, and what are the records that were changed, right? What are the records they have changed, or what are the records that got compromised, and how many systems got affected. These are very important things when you are working in a real time. So you should be able to know which username, which IP address, what time it was accessed, what records were changed, modified or deleted, and how many systems got affected. So you guys need to make sure that whenever you are doing a traceability, you can find out if something happens, if some event happens. Okay, so it is always important. So next thing comes is applying security at all layers. So securing all the levels of your environment really helps to protect you by giving an extra expansiveness. Okay, so whatever the environment you are working in, okay, so it is always important that it is applied in all levels. Nothing but it should be applied on your network level, it should be applied on your VPCs level, and also it should, like for examples, when you are talking about VPCs, okay, so what are the things you know, what are the things you do to secure your VPCs, right? So it is a simple practice, like you have a very good security group in place, and also you are using your network ACLs, right? So if you guys already seen my videos of AWS, which is in membership of 29, you might already know what is a VPC and what is a security group, and how you secure your VPCs with network ACLs. And also you can have extra security layers and add in extra security footprints, like for example, at the edge level you can have your network access points to the AWS cloud, and also you can enhance your security using few of the services which been used in the AWS. Okay, so it is always important that every step of your application deployment or infrastructure deployment, network deployment, okay, so make sure that you are applying security at all the layers. Then comes about your automating security best practices. So you already know what all the best practices you have, because it will be documented in your organization. So it is always important that whenever you see a repetitive task, you automate that, even it on the security. So repetitive tasks should always become automated, so that it will be easy for you to react quickly to any event occurring. Okay, so if you see any security event occurring, so it is always important that to react quickly. So, and also you know what is happening on that, even if you don't realize if like this event has happened. So whenever you are doing a repeat like automation of the security task, it will take care. Okay, so this is always important in the real time, because whenever something happens, if you are not getting noticed of that and your data is already compromised and you don't have any best practices in place, then you will be in trouble. Okay, so it is always important that you automate all your security best practices. So whatever the repetitive task you are doing, so try to automate them. And also as a DevOps engineer, it is always important that you are making an automation of all the manual processes, right? So you can automatically analyze your logs, or you can automatically remediate the resources which are not in comply with your organization security postures, right? So for example, someone has changed a password with very weak password. Okay, so whenever you run your repetitive task, it go and checks that password, and it will say, or it will delete that password, or it will delete that user, or it will send a notification to the user saying that this is the weakest password. Okay, so that is a simple example that you can get when you are talking about automating your best practices. And also what all the things you can use, what all the services you can use in AWS. We have something called Guard City. Okay, so sorry, Guard Duty. So we have Guard Duty, then we have our CloudWatch again, and then we have Event Hub. Okay, you can use Event Hub, and also you can use AWS Config. Okay, so you can use all these services to automate the security best practices. Okay, so next comes about protecting data in transit and rest. So like I said, it is always important that you protect data, because lot of hackers or bad actors are around you, or whenever you are accessing your data from an internet or unprotected internet, it is always risky. Okay, so it is always important that you apply the best security on the data instead of depending on the people who are accessing from the outside. Like for example, you wanted people to access data through VPN. Okay, but if it is not our responsibility, or we cannot monitor the people who are coming from the outside, that they are using the VPNs, or they are coming with the security internet, or they are using a security tunnels to connect to our machines, right? So it is always important that we enable the security on our servers, such as like we'll be implementing these certificates on our load balancers. Okay, so we'll be using TLS certificates to protect the data whenever coming through the load balancer, or on your cloud front distributions, or even at the server level. Okay, so it is always important that you allow the transmissions to be encrypted while going from point to point. Okay, so that is where it is always important. It is depend on us, like how we are protecting our data, instead of making things or or believing that someone comes from the outside with the security, right? So, and also it is always important that we enable our TLS certificates, the transport layer certificates, and also IPsec at the protocol layers. Okay, so these all things will really help us to secure our data. So what are the things or services that majorly used in AWS when you are talking about securing the data? Okay, so we have something called WAF. Okay, so you guys might already know what is WAF. This is web application firewall. And also we have Amazon CloudFront, we have key management services, that is KMS. These three services majorly used to help you protect your data at rest by allowing you to create, use, and rotate keys easily. Okay, so whatever the security keys are there, so you can easily rotate them by using these services. Okay, so it is always important that you have these services in place whenever you're working in AWS, right? And also keeping people away from data. Okay, what is the mechanism that we do, like, or how you can keep people away from data? Okay, simple thing, like we automate how data is accessed, right? Like rather than we allow the individuals to directly access the data, it is better idea to have items that can be validated through a change control. Okay, so that is change process. So you always give an access through a change control process. Like for example, a simple example, that someone wants to access a server. Okay, so you take a real valid reason from them, and you ask them to raise the change process, and you will give access only for a limited period of time. For example, you are going to give only 1 hour time to access that server. After that, you will be revoking the access. Okay, so that is one of the examples. And also most of the times we have system manager runbooks or Lambda functions, okay, where you would be accessing the data. Okay, so you, even for those services, you can limit the access, you know, like by using security groups, you can limit the access to the data. So it is always important that you remember that always keep people away from the data, because you cannot give access to anyone in the organizations that will be very, very risky. Okay, so next is like what are the security events, like what are the things you need to prepare. Okay, so most of the time when you are talking about AWS perspective, it is always important that how you protect your root account. Okay, so these are all the major things you need to ask yourself whenever you are working in a real time. Okay, so how to protect your root account? First thing, and have you enabled multi-factor authentication on root account? It is very important. And also make sure that there is no one is using this root account, and you yourself never use a root account if you have access. And also, how do you assign IAM policies or IAM users and groups? It is always important to make sure, like whenever you're working in an AWS account, how you are assigning IAM users and groups, and how you delegate your API CLI access. These are very important things whenever you are talking about AWS account. Even if it is your personal account, never use root. Always make sure MFA is enabled on your device on a root account, and also you never use root account. And also make sure, like whenever you are giving IAM access, what access you are giving, and also the API CLI access, what accesses you are giving. Okay, so these are the security practices, and this is a very important pillar of any cloud, any on-premise, whatever, wherever you are working on. Okay, so that is it for this session. Okay, so we talked about security. Next we'll talk about reliability. Okay, so after that we'll discuss about other two pillars as well. Okay, so that's it for this session, guys. We'll see reliability, performance, efficiency, and also cost optimization in next sessions. Keep practicing whatever I'm giving. Try to note it down, all the services which I have discussed with respect to the security, so that if someone asks you what are the tools or services you are using for the in AWS for security, you can list out all the services which I have mentioned. Okay, so thanks for watching this video. Who are still not subscribed, please subscribe, because there are a lot of non-subscriber views. This is a simple subscribe button. You just go and click there. You'll get a lot of things from our channel. This is the first thing, or I'm not sure like if AWS DevOps is been discussed with respect to real time in YouTube. Okay, so try to subscribe this channel. And also one more important thing is I'm also going to do this in Telugu parallelly, but for every one section, after section, like I'll try to do that whole section in Telugu in weekend. Okay, so keep watching our channel, and thanks for subscribing, and share with your friends and families. Have a great day, have a great weekend ahead. Thank you and bye.